Imagine being dismissed, overlooked, and treated like you're invisible just because of your uniform or your skin. But what if the one being underestimated wasn't just anyone? What if she was a genius, a code-writing prodigy hiding behind an apron? Stay until the very end, because this story takes a turn that no one, especially the arrogant CEO, saw coming. If you're someone who believes that brilliance can come from anywhere, then make sure to hit that subscribe button now, because this is the kind of story that changes everything. The sky had barely begun to lighten over downtown Manhattan when Ava Monroe tied her curly black hair into a bun and tucked her tablet deep into her purse, zipping it up like it held the secret to the universe, because, in a way, it did. Ava had worked as a waitress at Silver Row Corporate Lounge for 6 months, glossy members-only executive retreat perched on the 35th floor of a glass high-rise, where billion-dollar deals were toasted with imported scotch, and people like Ava were seen, but never truly acknowledged. She didn't mind. In fact, she liked it that way because no one suspected the girl with the notepad and name tag was quietly building something that could change the world. Every morning before her shift, she arrived an hour early and ducked into the empty side. Office near the tech floor, too code-fast, focused, fingers dancing across the borrowed keyboard like a concert pianist. No one used that computer, and the system wasn't password-locked besides. She only connected to the guest Wi-Fi and never accessed internal systems. She wasn't a hacker, just a coder with no computer of her own and a dream she refused to give up. But on that particular morning, as she was polishing the final algorithm of her predictive equity trading model, a tool she'd spent for years designing in secret, everything changed. She didn't hear the elevator chime or the polished Ferragamo shoes walking toward her until it was too late. "What in the hell do you think you're doing?" A cold, sharp voice stabbed through the air behind her, and Ava froze. She turned, slowly, eyes locking with Damien Hawthorne, the notoriously ruthless, steel-nerved CEO of Hawthorne Industries, who also happened to own the building. His suit was crisp, his jaw clenched, and his piercing gray eyes scanned her face like she was a security threat. "Using company property without permission? That's theft," he snapped, stepping into the room. Ava stood quickly, heart pounding, trying to explain, but before she could utter a word, Damien stepped past her and looked at the screen. And then everything changed. His eyes narrowed, not with anger, but confusion, curiosity. The lines of code weren't garbage. They weren't amateur. In fact, they were cleaner and more efficient than half of what his in-house engineers could write. He scrolled, then kept scrolling, until he paused on a predictive trade simulation that projected market dips with near-perfect accuracy. "You wrote this?" he asked flatly. Ava nodded, barely breathing. "Where did you learn this?" "I taught myself," she said quietly, half expecting him to call security anyway. But he didn't. He stared at her like she was a riddle he couldn't solve. "This isn't a hobbyist project. This is institutional-grade AI. You built this. Here, during your shifts, during breaks. Early mornings, nights after work," she whispered. There was a long silence until Damien suddenly stepped back and barked, "Follow me." The next 10 minutes were a blur. She followed him through secure doors, past his assistant's shocked face, and into the boardroom where a dozen partners sat sipping espressos before their 8 a.m. call with investors. "Gentlemen," Damien said sharply, "I want you to see something." They didn't know who she was. They assumed she was catering staff. But that morning, she plugged in her thumb drive and launched her model, explaining with poise and clarity how her algorithm could outperform standard hedge fund analytics. The room shifted, eyebrows raised, questions fired, and she answered every one with calm brilliance. When one partner challenged her understanding of volatility indexes, she smiled and pulled up custom metrics she'd written herself. When another doubted her database size, she demoed live simulations that left jaws hanging. After 20 minutes, the room went silent. And Damien, for once in his life, didn't have a smug retort, just awe. "Do you have a job offer yet?" one partner finally asked. Ava blinked. "No, sir." "Oh." "She does now," Damien said instantly. "Full salary. Corner office. Equity. If this works." But Ava didn't jump at the offer. She tilted her head. With all due respect, Mr. Hawthorne, I don't want to work for you. I want a partnership. That made the whole table sit up. But Damien, ever the gambler, didn't hesitate. Fine. 50-50, we launch this together. The next 6 months were chaos: press releases, investor rounds, beta testing. Ava became the hidden engine behind Hawthorne Tech's sudden leap into the fintech world. But the twist? One day, a journalist dug deeper into the mysterious equity model genius rumored to have rewritten the game. A viral article exposed Ava's journey from a waitress scraping rent to co-founder of a billion-dollar venture, and social media exploded. Some called it a modern fairy tale. Others demanded to know why talent like hers was overlooked for so long. Meanwhile, Ava kept working quietly, steadily, still preferring to show her worth through results, not titles. But what even Damien didn't know was that Ava had held something back. A second version of the model, a better one. One that wasn't just predictive but adaptive on. She planned to use it to launch her own startup. She knew her time at Hawthorne was temporary. She was grateful, but she had bigger plans. The kind of plans that didn't fit in anyone's shadow, not even a CEO's. So one quiet Friday, she handed Damien a resignation letter. He stared at it in disbelief. "Why?" She smiled. "Because I finally have the funds, the experience, and the network. It's time I build something that's mine from the ground up." And she did. 6 months later, Equinova launched a company founded by a black woman, no longer hiding behind uniforms or borrowed time. Ava became an icon in the tech world, mentoring girls from underserved communities and building one of the most powerful equity tools on the planet. Damien watched from afar, sometimes proudly, sometimes wistfully, because the waitress he'd once nearly fired had not only stunned him with her code, but had rewritten his understanding of genius, grit, and what it really meant to lead. And for the rest of the world, Ava Monroe became more than a headline. She became a reminder that brilliance has no uniform, and genius doesn't need permission to rise.